Alright, so hello everyone, I'm Ryan, and well, if I seem a bit more watered down than usual or just a bit more dull, that is thanks to this. Essentially, I uppercut myself while playing Thrill the Fight, which is a boxing VR game. Now, to give some context, I have been learning boxing for about a full year now. Now, technically, I've been learning boxing for far longer than that, but that's another story for another day. And at least real boxing has only been for 1 year so far. And so, my routine was pretty standard about like maybe 20, 30 minutes of like shadow boxing, and then about like 10 minutes of like maybe Thrill the Fight or Box VR. So yeah, that was all pretty normal, but that would be pretty regular, right? Essentially like practice, like as a day-to-day thing. But then as of late, like maybe the last 1 or 2 months, I shifted to instead baseball pitching and some other stuff. So I didn't really, do a lot of like boxing practice. Every now and then, yes, I did some shadow boxing, but not really that much. And so only maybe the last week or so did I start getting back into it. So all I just first started with, I didn't even like start with movement or dodging or any crazy combos. Like all I did was just stand in one place and just only do jabs and then straight punches. That's it. Okay, so that's what I started with. But then today, for some reason, I felt all overconfident, and so I did my regular. I think what was it, 15 minutes of shadow boxing, and then another 20 minutes of box VR. And then, well, I was like, okay, you know what? I still feel a lot of energy, okay? And I feel good, even though, like, again, all that I did in both of the instances was pretty much only just a jab and like just a straight punch. I decided to go and boot up Thrill the Fight. Now, Thrill the Fight essentially is like a complete boxing simulator, which you actually get to be in the ring and, you actually get to face opponents and actually move around the ring and, you don't just get to stand in place. So that was the first thing that I completely forgot about Thrill the Fight is the fact that you actually have to move and just like dodge properly because otherwise, yeah, you're just going to get knocked out in the first second. So I barely made it through the first round. And mind you, like, for the opponent who I face, which is essentially the first opponent, like the first basic opponent you face, normally, like at my peak, I'd be able to get like a technical knockout in under like 1 minute. But now I barely got one knockout in like the first round, barely, just barely. Second round, well, basically like in the first round, I noticed that a lot of like the punches, like especially like hooks, right, and even like the uppercuts were not landing. And so I got a bit desperate in the second round. So once I got the second knockout, I was like so desperate to try and get this guy like out within the second round itself. I want to get a total knockout. Basically, again, like through the entire like spiel of throwing a bit of combos, as I was like, like throwing in a hook, right? Like that's normally my strategy. Throw a hook, like he'll basically open up his defense and then throw in an uppercut. But as I was throwing it in, he basically like moved into me, like the opponent, and essentially like clinched, right? And so when he did that, I just basically on reflex just just sent one up there, and I hit my headset, the like my VR headset, and I hit it so hard that literally I rocked myself. Like my brain became like slush for just like about like 30 seconds, and I could barely even like keep my balance. Like I was like so close to just like completely just falling, like in real life, not in the game. So yeah, and the funny thing is that's even though yes, this I mean it's given me a pretty terrible migraine, which I still have now, and I have like an ice pack over there that I'm going to be using to soothe it a little bit. But the funny thing is, it also kind of makes me happy because see, when I first started boxing, that used to happen quite often. Where I tried to go for like all complex combos and moves, and I keep hitting the headset or even sometimes hitting myself. And now, like I mean, at least in the past, I never used to like really feel it or like there was no impact. Just one uppercut, like one solid uppercut, literally rocked my brain so hard. And again, left hand, which typically, for someone who is right dominant, the left hand would be weaker. But this is not weak. Like Jesus, like this migraine that I have now is probably the worst, like the worst I've had in like years, honestly. Like the only thing that I can really even like make this even close to or like visualize as is when I remember like I think I just like tripped and just like literally fell like literally head first into like the pavement I think, and that's the only thing that's as close as like how you know like this feels. Like, god damn, this has a lot of power to it. And again, I didn't hit myself, I hit the headset. Even just the headset itself, like, still, there was so much energy that just, you know, exploded onto my brain essentially. Yeah. Well, I'm just gonna be sticking now to more just jabs and straight punches for maybe a little while. And yeah, I'm just gonna take it a little bit slow so that I don't actually just get a brain aneurysm and just die right now. So anyway, yeah, that's my short little story of essentially how I just uppercutted myself and gave myself a really horrible migraine, which I still have right now. But yeah, if you're learning boxing, go slow, go easy. Don't go the route I did of getting a bit too excited and basically trying to do the things that I'd learned before without even really practicing beforehand. So yeah, there's a PSA for you kids. Don't uppercut yourself in the face. You're not gonna like it. Um, Ryan out.